This is Iowa running back Kaleb Johnson.
This is Mr. Outside Zone. You have enough sturdiness to run through contact, lots of just back cutting across the formation, sets up his blocks well, 144 total yards per game as a junior, 74th percentile in terms of fantasy points in college among drafted running backs. So there's a foundation to like. We just have to battle and figure out, are there standout traits that you love athletically, or is this just going to be the guy that you have to say, trust me, his vision is good and we're going to grind out all the yards that we need?
I might be on that side, but let's get into it. His good runs are so much fun. Like you said, the vision, the correct decision. I thought there was plenty of speed despite this 4, 5, 7, 40-yard dash because, again, constantly he is pulling away from people and making long runs out of it and creating these big plays. He has this full head of steam. And once he does, he will work through cracks and come out the other side. One of those Batman films, there's like this villain in a car that's like going away, a wall of fire behind them laughing with the camera, and all of a sudden you see Batman flying through that wall of fire and catching up to them.
Take that, you friggin' psycho! I got you!
That is Kaleb Johnson. You think that there's a path that is blocked off, but here he comes, 60 miles per hour, and boom, we're off to the races. Give him an edge. He's gone. I'm excited. The more I watch, the more I like, but the more I want him to land in like the correct and pivotal
Right.
position for him and team for him.
Yeah, he pretty much did the one thing. Now, he did it very well in Iowa. He had 3 years to learn the system, and that's all they do over there. This is like the most classic Iowa offense that you'll ever see. But yeah, he just can press it, and then he just always finds a way to kind of cut it back. And when you see him cut back, he kind of just like runs slowly right by guys. And that was like the thing that I'm just trying to piece together is, was that just like not a high enough level of competition against? I didn't see like a lot of agility, or we didn't get the jumps and all that type of stuff in the combine.
Totally.
I didn't see someone that was like forcing missed tackles by like shaking guys. He's just
Yep.
kind of bouncing off guys. And that's why in the beginning of
And like
this,
staying out of their arm length just a little bit, like the range that they have
definitely.
for the tackling area. He, I think, has a really good awareness for that and the
Yep.
vision to see that out of his periphery
Yep.
and to, again, stay out of their arm length range.
And there might be something with just like the outside zone that you're just getting a lot of like side tacklers, and he's just able to kind of
Yeah.
shed off of that versus like you're all the downhill runs and like
Attacking
just the
their
gaps.
edges.
Yeah, and he's got enough sturdiness, and he's a big dude. And we're talking about like 224 pounds here, where he's just kind of shedding off of guys, and then he has enough speed to get to the next level. So that's like the thing that I'm having a trouble with Kaleb Johnson is like I didn't see like standout plays by himself, but the name of running back is like there's a hole. You have to find the hole. And if you can shed a couple tackles along the way, you have a productive player. But I'm with you that he needs the outside zone scheme because that's like basically all they ran. And I would not trust his vision. And maybe some of the issues I'm having with like the lack of agility and like crazy
Interesting.
bursts would come up in different schemes that would be more of a negative.
See, I would totally trust his vision, but I still have some of the same reservations as you, but I think I'm coming about them in a different way. Like to me, I didn't see wasted steps or wasted movement, but when he makes that decision and there's nothing there, he flat out runs into that wall. Like he just knows where he's supposed to go based on the blocking, based on the play call. And if it's there, boom, we're off the races. And if not, there's not a lot of creativity to his
Hmm.
game or dynamism to his game, as we see a bunch of the best backs in the league or great backs in college make someone miss 2 yards deep in the backfield, just one on one face up. And then we're going to create 4 yards out of that. For him, he's most likely getting tackled by the first player. And I think that also goes back to his 10-yard split. That's a 1-6-1. He takes some time to get going.
Yes.
And so, like, his worst runs, and he looked his worst, like at the line of scrimmage. But if you give him that crease, if you give him that alley, and it doesn't have to be wide open like some of these players that we've talked about with the wide zone that I'll bring up a bit later on. Once you get to the second level and the third level, that's when he uses his movement and like his agility to weave around players. And again, once he strides out, he's gone. Like he
Yeah.
really is gone. And it was so much fun to watch those big sideline plays because it really brought up the old Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak era
Hmm.
running backs.
Yeah, I see the same athleticism that you do. The burst, I think it's a problem. Like it's straight up a problem. The 10-yard splits in the bottom 16th percentile. When he stops his feet, the play's pretty much over. I don't see a bunch of elusiveness. His
He's
best
a slow
athletic
starter.
Yeah, for sure. His best athletic trait is like going from 10 yards to the 30-yard range. I think that he has some decent build-up speed. And you can actually see that in the 40-yard dash being much better than the 10-yard split. And that just shows you that the long speed's better than the burst. The problem with that, though, is like the name of running back is also like you have got to beat the linebacker to the spot. And I have a
Yeah.
couple issues with that. So just to throw like a quick comp out to you, Zach Charbonnet I thought was like somewhat similar to this. I like Charbonnet's film a little bit more. Najee Harris has like the same like size. Najee Harris is like trying to make guys miss a little bit too much. I think Kaleb Johnson, like is just probably a little bit better at reading things out. And like at the low end of this would be like the Alexander Madison types who run this type of
Interesting.
a system, but I just don't think have the athletic traits to translate. So he pops more like the models than like what I saw in film personally.
We have very different comparisons. Just quickly on contact, he was really hit or miss for me. Like the forward lean sometimes wins, but it also sometimes means, a loss of yards on ankle tackles. More often than not, when a hole gets filled, it's dunzo. But I think there's like a very different skill set for a running back when we're talking about creativity on a line of scrimmage reroute versus destroying safety angles once getting to like the second and third level. He's much better at the latter
Hmm.
than he is the former. And I just went with like the true wide zone comparisons, like Lamar Miller at the floor and someone like Arian Foster at the top, who also didn't test like a great athlete. Now, what concerns me is I believe on all the prospect videos, which I know all of you out there have already subscribed to and watched. Now we already have like three guys that specialize in this outside zone, wide zone stuff. Kaleb Johnson, to me, DJ Giddens, and Bashal Tootin. I like Kaleb Johnson the most out of that group, but it's not like there's going to be three teams out there necessarily that specialize in this type of running style that's all three are going to land in like perfect situations for them.
Yeah, and that's where my grade is late round 3, early round 4. And I think that just gets him put into like the fringe starter bucket of typical draft classes. I would trust Caleb Johnson to handle the rock way more than Tootin. But Tootin, I thought had like the athletic traits that you would want for this exact offense. The Arian Foster thing is like stylistically, like that is what you're hoping Caleb Johnson turns out. There's just been like 100 misses and like the one Arian Foster that has my attention. I do really like the Lamar Miller one as well, but I think that Lamar Miller had a little bit more juice than Caleb. So last thing I have on him for just the receiving part, only 22 receptions. I will say he did have pretty confident hands, and I think that has a
I
little bit
agree.
more potential in the pass game than what he's shown. So if there's like a way to kind of dream about this a little bit more, I do think it is actually through the air. And there's one play against Nebraska, which might have been like the most impressive non-Ashton Genty clip. He made like 9 guys miss
I
after the
think it was his
catch.
last catch of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean it didn't even make sense. And then I also thought that his pass protection was pretty good. He's a big guy.
Interesting.
I thought he
I did
had
not.
decent awareness as well. So I think that there's maybe a little bit more in the pass game. I think that he could be like more of a volume sponge. Which is we've used that with the Najee Harris, and that's kind of where I was going to with that comp, where like this guy might just end up touching the ball 250 times in a season just because like
I'd like
he's
that.
available. I don't think that he's going to be a true difference maker if he does get that
Dang.
volume.
Man, we get a back that's 224 pounds and you're not all the way in. What have you done to yourself? Like, I
I
don't
mean,
even know you anymore.
just I don't like skipping the agilities and the jump, and then the test you do, it's not very good, and then it's just a
But
little
I
bit
thought the
one
play speed
dimensional.
was there. Like, if we're talking about eyes connected to feet and then long
Yeah.
speed, again, to make safety angles dust, to me, that was there. Just to bring up a couple things, I
Mhm.
was bad at passing the football. And maybe part of that is they might not coach their running backs that well in terms of pass protection. I didn't like his pass protection as much as you did, but I agree on his hands. Like the opportunities that he gave, sometimes they were low
Mhm.
targets at his feet. And then other times it was just confidently plucking them with a bunch of screens and flare out routes. And boom, we're off to the races with those. And yeah, I mean, the Arian Foster stuff, I understand. Undrafted or late round pick. There's been that comparison made a lot. he's an individual talent, but the reason it worked is because he landed with Gary Kubiak, you know? So, like,
Definitely.
let's get him in one of these systems. And to me,
Mhm.
fireworks can happen if it does get there. But if it goes into the wrong one, then I'm going to get a bit nervous
Yep.
and maybe re rank where I have him in my head.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Like we're trying to grade these guys out in a vacuum, but we talk about where their strengths and weaknesses are because each scheme is a little bit different. So
Right.
yeah, pay attention after the draft.
And I know a lot of people are going to watch this afterwards, but the reason I'm harping on the system is because last year he had 191 zone attempts versus 48 gap runs.
Yeah.
So that's a major
Yeah.
difference
It's usually like
between
a
the two.
close to like 60-40 for most offenses. Like when you get that big of a gap, it's definitely like more of a red flag.
I do want to add, and I don't know if I saw this necessarily, but he was fourth in yards after contact per attempt at 4.42. But I think a lot of that was the massive long runs that he had. I mean,
Mhm.
22 of his runs this past year went 20 plus yards. That was a 9.2% clip. All right. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. Watch other prospect videos on the channel right now, and we'll see you over there.